Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Dynasty Drip today. We're going to be going over 5 risky trades that I think are worth it to make in your Dynasty League right now. Now, some of these maybe are for a contender, rebuilder. Some of them may just be more of a market play, but thank you guys for coming to the channel. Make sure to hit like, hit subscribe. I appreciate you coming, but let's get this video kicked off. First guy I want to talk about is going to be Daniel Jones. Now, to me, Daniel Jones is a guy I'm going to risk trading for in a dynasty league as long as I can get the deal done at a price I'm willing to pay. He's been just super good and consistent this year. I love what he brings on the ground, scoring 4 rushing touchdowns. But in general, besides his one game against the Rams, he's been a very, very solid QB1, and I don't even think you're going to have to pay that, obviously. But for me, obviously, we all know the risk with Daniel Jones. Is this just a one-season wonder? But I like what it is. I really truthfully think he's going to resign with the Colts. I think Steichen's going to stay there with the Colts. I like the weapons they have with Warren, Pittman, Downs, Jonathan Taylor, a good old line. They play inside. There's a lot of things about Daniel Jones that make me willing to take the risk of acquiring him. And for me, what a risky move would be, but something I'd be willing to do, is I would trade a first-round pick for Daniel Jones. Now, look, maybe it won't get done in your league. I can't promise that every league's going to be the same. But I know a lot of people that have been holding Daniel Jones. Very, very well may just let him go for a first-round pick if they want to move on and get something out of a player. It's a risk, though. Obviously, if he ends the season not doing so hot, but also there's guys like Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield, where this has actually gone in the right direction. And for me, Daniel Jones is still young enough, and I just think he landed in the right situation that I think he gets a 2 to 3 year deal, and I think this first-round pick is going to be worth it. I'm not trading an early first if I'm rebuilding or something, but if you're a contender, you're looking for a QB2 or a QB3, I think this is a deal that could get done, and I'd be willing to make it. Next guy I want to talk about, and this is a different conversation, but I think the risk here is that I'm going to, moving forward, have Drake May ranked as a top 5 dynasty asset. I just think I have him over some guys that maybe other people do not. He has the rushing upside. He has a team that's letting him throw it. He has age. I think Drake May versus Justin Herbert is an interesting conversation. I haven't sat down and redone all of my dynasty ranks for the month yet, but I think they both bring kind of that upside. But Drake May has outperformed Herbert, so I don't know. Maybe it's just that his team is getting in more shootout games, or the Chargers don't necessarily play like that all of the time. But I'm going to be willing to get Drake May in. My risky trade here is I would swap Jalen Hurts for Drake May. And look, KTC has him at QB4, QB5. Obviously, Drake May is a sexy name right now. Jalen Hurts isn't super sexy. I'm not saying you got to sell off all of your Jalen Hurts shares or anything, but Drake May just looks like a better player, and he's younger. And if that tush-push goes away, I don't know for Jalen Hurts, man. He's not going anywhere. He's going to be the starting quarterback. They're going to have weapons. He's going to be fine. I'd just be curious to see if you could get this trade done in your league just on name recognition alone. And I just have a hard time not thinking that Drake May deserves to be ranked against Jalen Hurts in a positive manner. So next guy I want to talk about, and that's going to be buying high on George Pickens. I think there is going to be a window. I'm not saying it has to be this week. Obviously, he's wide receiver 3, and I'm not saying you got to pay 3 firsts for the dude. But, some people try to, let's say, outsmart themselves when it comes to Dynasty Fantasy Football. And everyone knows CeeDee Lamb is coming back. And so I think certain owners are going to think now is the time to get out from under George Pickens when his value is at the highest. But I also think there might just be not an uneven balance, but I think there's still just maybe value in George Pickens. He's a guy that I've been targeting in the offseason. I've targeted him in redraft leagues. The talent is clearly there, and everything we've seen this year, I feel like he's going to re-sign with Dallas, and that defense is definitely bad enough to keep him relevant. And something that had me in on George Pickens this offseason, which has continued to be true, and I think it will be true once Lamb comes back, is that there is plenty of passing volume for 2 wide receivers, maybe even 3 pass catchers, including Jake Ferguson, to be viable in NFL offenses as long as they have the target share numbers. And Pickens, Lamb, Ferguson, they can all keep those passing share numbers, maybe over 20% for all three of them. So for me, buying high on George Pickens, I want to see what on top of Jameson Williams, so I have to add on to get George Pickens. KTC says it's a 3. I'd be willing to trade a 2 on top of Jameson Williams. Obviously a 1, I'm not doing that. But I've been out on Jameson Williams for a while, and I'm going to use one of his better games this season. He's had 2 spike games, good game against the Chiefs. I'm going to use that to see if people think he's kind of returned his value. What sort of pick can I throw on top of Jameson Williams to get me George Pickens? In the end, they're a similar age player. They're both going to be the number 2 weapon. I just like the consistency that Pickens probably is going to bring over Jameson Williams. And for me, that's going to be the tiebreaker in this situation. The next one I want to talk about, and look, I don't know if this is a long-term play. I'm not saying it is, but it was really hard for me to ignore that the Chiefs Sunday night game was the most involved Pacheco's been in a game this year. And it wasn't some amazing outing. He's only had, 5.6 points. He had 1 reception for basically no yards, but 77% snap percentage. I like to see that even with a surging Brashard Smith, who still seems to be behind Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. But if Pacheco is getting healthier, he's definitely like a better player than Kareem Hunt. At least he has more big playability. I also think he has the potential to play on pass catching downs and running downs. So let's see what happens down the stretch here with Pacheco. You may be able to buy low-ish on him, where I still think he probably has some better games coming. Can we get Pacheco for 2/3? I think on a desperate team, I might be willing to trade a late second, but I also think there's probably better options you could get for a late second for me personally. But I think there's just going to be some better games to come for Pacheco down the stretch. And whether it's you trade for him now to trade him away after he has some better games, or you just need some running back depth as a contender this season, I think Pacheco will get some later as it goes. He is still, not even a year removed necessarily from that injury. He's approaching that mark. So next one I want to talk about, in the same way that we have Drake May as a top 5 QB, I think it's time to start talking about Jackson Dart as a top 12 to 14 option. KTC does have him there, so I'm not saying I'm alone on this island, but you can't ignore 3 straight games with 50 rushing yards out of a young quarterback in a dynasty league. He's 22, and he's doing this with no Malik Neighbors. So I think in general, the passing might come and go this season. I like to think it could get a lot better once Neighbors comes back next year and he gives him some sort of deep threat. Wandell's given him a little something. I think Theo Johnson's a nice tight end. And Scadaboo, obviously, probably their best offensive player right now. But Jackson Dart, 7, 10, and 13 rushes is just absolutely amazing for a quarterback in a dynasty league. And it is sustainable just the way they're going to have to play in that division, I think, going up against Dak, the Eagles, and Jaden Daniels on the Commanders. So I do think this is doable. My trade idea here is, can I swap him for Kyren Williams? Maybe someone is looking for a win now running back. I mean, I'm willing to trade picks here, like maybe a first and a second to go get Jackson Dart. Could we tier up from maybe a mid QB 1 kind of vibe? Or can we throw a first round pick on top of a guy like Tua? Oh no, can we tier up from Kyler to Jackson Dart? Maybe just some guys that we've kind of seen what we're getting, and I'd be willing to take a risk that Jackson Dart can develop into more of a weapon moving forwards. I don't know, though. I mean, are you guys doing any trades for Jackson Dart? I'd love to know a trade that's gone down in the league for Dart. Haven't really seen him traded in my league yet. Drop that down in the comments, though. And the last guy I want to talk about today is going to be Terry McLaurin. Now, obviously, we have a pretty small sample size. He gave us 3 games, didn't really do much, and then he's been out for a while. He is going to return at some point. But I think there's a buy window for Terry McLaurin, as I do still believe he has a 3-year contract with Jaden Daniels and the Washington Commanders, and he should level out value-wise once he comes back and starts playing and producing. He just needs to be healthy. Like, I don't know if he was full go the first couple games, obviously below 80% snap percentage in 2 of the games. He got hurt in that 3rd game. He looked fine. He could have had like a 70-yard bomb in one of those games if you guys were watching. So I do think the production's still there. Obviously, Debo's been able to produce in that offense, and Daniels missed some games as well. But I think for me, if I'm looking for a player to add to maybe boost my team down the stretch as I'm a contender or a playoff kind of team in a dynasty league, can I move 2 seconds to get Terry McLaurin? I think as an owner, I would ask for a 1, and I don't think I would do this trade if I own Terry McLaurin, but I do think I would send it to try and acquire him if I'm a contending player in a dynasty league. In the end, he does still have the week-to-week upside. He's going to be the deep threat for that team. He's tied to one of a top 5 dynasty QB on a rookie deal. They have no reason to cut or move on from Terry McLaurin. They signed him. They paid him. The guarantees money there. He's going to be on the Commanders for the next 3 years, and it's going to bring success once he gets back and is healthy for this team. But thank you guys for coming for Dynasty Drip today. I appreciate you joining me. Make sure to hit subscribe if you haven't. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. If you have any questions, hit me up below in the comments. Make sure to hit like, share the video around. Thank you guys for joining. I appreciate it. And you guys have a good week. Best of luck in your games this week, guys.